Hello, and welcome to the Personify Leadership Podcast, the podcast where we explore the transformative journeys of leaders who have embraced the principles of Personify leadership to drive success within their own organizations. Hi, Sydney. How are you?
I'm doing great today, Michelle. How are you?
I'm doing great. So, listeners, this is Sidney Blakemore. Sydney, why don't you do a little bit of an intro for us?
Absolutely. My name is Sidney Blakemore. I work with Canal Barge Company out of New Orleans, Louisiana. We're an inland barging system tower. We own boats and barges that go all over the country from New Orleans to Chicago, all the way to Pennsylvania, and all the way to Brownsville, Texas, to the our border with Mexico. So we push bulk materials all over the world, and I have been with this company for 14 years. I started off as a deckhand and worked my way into management. And now I'm responsible for my company's training and development efforts.
That's awesome. So, when you first found Personify, what was your role in the organization, and what were you doing at that time when Personify first started getting implemented at Canal?
Ooh, so that was about almost over a handful of years ago. It
Yeah.
feels like just yesterday, but at that time I was still in human resources and I had a very strong focus on training, particularly within our shore-based employee workforce. And we were we were in the process of planning for our future professional development needs. At the time, our current our previous provider was on the verge of retirement, so we really needed to figure out what our path forward was. And when Troy uh, uh, found your information and we started reviewing it, we said this aligns completely with what we're looking for and who we are as a company. So when we got on that first call with you, it was like a match made in heaven,
Mm.
and it's been amazing ever since.
Yeah, so I mean, I know you guys have put hundreds of your leaders through the program now over the last several years. So how does it resonate with your people, with your leaders? Because you have such a wide range of people that you, as far as their tasks and roles in the organization that they do for Canal. So how does it resonate with those with your leaders that go through the program?
Well, the fortunate thing about our company is that we were blessed to have an amazing provider prior to, and
Mm,
it having that base system of understanding that there are great resources and tools out there that you can learn and then implement back in the workplace to make yourself a better leader. It really made the transition to personify that much easier. And when I say that, I haven't seen people with such positive reaction upon going through the program that I've ever seen before. I haven't had a single person go through Personify say that was a waste of my time
mm.
or that was unrealistic or not valuable. Almost every single one has given extremely high praise to the point of saying this is one of the best programs I've ever been through.
Ah, that's
And
great.
I've had people that have come from other companies, other industries, and said I have been through leadership training before. It is not like this. This is fantastic.
Yeah. And you have a little bit of a tough crowd sometimes, right? Like you have guys that are out on boats and they're out for a month at a time, and so when they hear that they have to come into corporate and go do training, sometimes that's sometimes you might have some people walk in with some crossed arms and some cockeyed heads a little bit, like what is it that we're doing here?
Oh yeah, and that's not just reserved to our mariners. That's office-based personnel too.
Yeah.
There's people that have had bad experiences in their careers going through corporate training,
Sure. Yep.
and it's really great to see them go through this program and come out saying, "Wow, I have a completely different outlook on it." We actually had a captain that we brought in from another towboat company, and he went through the two. He was one of the first wheelmen to go through the full 2 day workshop, and he approached me after the session and said, "Look, Sydney, I got to be honest with you. I have been dreading this for the last 2 weeks.
Mm,
I don't like these things. My previous employer made us do one of these things, and it was awful. It
mm.
felt like a slow torture. And I've got to tell you, this was awesome. This was amazing. I really appreciated it, and I feel like there are things in this course that I can go back to the boat and use right now. So that's the highest remark that I think the program could receive.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about you personally. So when you went through this course, how did it impact you personally after going through it?
It allowed me to feel much more comfortable utilizing my strengths, but also being more aware of my areas for improvement.
Mm,
And it gave me a structure to do that by.
mm,
Instead of just say, like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and get tough and do better. It gave me a systematic approach to actually being able to do that,
mm,
and being able to share that common language with my fellow managers that I went through the program with. It allowed us to go back and be resources to one another. It wasn't just Sidney doing Sidney's thing. It was Sidney using a very effective, proven tool with partners to be able to rely on each other with.
yeah. So have you seen any shifts in culture or anything like that in the organization now that you've had so many of your leaders go through the program?
Absolutely, and I think the biggest thing is that common use of language.
Mm,
Now that we're talking about the heart of a leader, the mind of a leader, the how you've been able to personify these tools and make them easy to remember, easy to reference and call back to.
yeah.
It allows us to stay on track and to give each other a friendly little accountability nudge from time to time when we see that we're not using our tools.
Yeah. So now you actually got certified in this program, and now you're one of the trainers that actually train this internally at Canal. So what's one of your favorite things about facilitating this program internally with your leaders?
It kind of sounds corny, but you get to see that aha moment during the sessions.
Yeah.
Those prickly pears that we talked about earlier that come in with their arms folded. You see
Uh-huh.
them start to kind of melt away, and then you see them engaging, and then they're smiling, they're having fun, and at the end of the workshop, they thank you for the experience, and they look forward to actually using them. That's one of the biggest values of being a certified facilitator. But the how that value extends past the workshop,
Mm,
you become viewed as a subject matter expert.
mm,
And I don't know, for whatever reason in American culture, people have a lot easier time working with or opening up to and reflecting on things that are uncomfortable with subject matter experts more than they do with peers.
yeah. So
So
have you found then that some of your leaders actually, if they've got something going on, then now they feel like they can come to you, they can talk to you about things because you were the one that trained them in this material. And so therefore now it just kind of opens that door up a little bit wider, if you will.
absolutely.
Oh, great.
I can't tell you the amount of times I've had people that I've trained in this course come to me and say, "Hey, I'm having this issue with a team member. Can you help me address it? Can you help me brainstorm on how I can go about it?" And I know that I have a baked in system of trust and
Mm,
and
yeah.
deep relationships within my organization from being here for 14 years. But the cherry on top is that I have this training,
Mm,
and they know that I'm going to bring them back to the source materials, and
yeah.
I'm going to help them. And to have that in-house trained facilitator, it makes your trainees feel like they're not going back to an island.
Mm, hmm.
It's like, oh, we had a trainer, but that trainer's no longer here anymore.
Yeah.
So how where's my resource now? I can't email Michelle directly. What do I do?
Yeah.
Well, that's no longer the case at Canal now that we have a handful of facilitators that people can reach out to.
Yeah, that's great. That's a really true added benefit for doing an internal certification and have someone certified internally that's delivering it. That I don't know if anyone's quite put it like that to me before. So that's so thank you for that. I'm gaining a little nugget from this as well. So,
Well, it ties to our previous provider and some of the challenges that we had.
oh yeah,
It was a third party. Uh, they were local and they were great, but whenever we had issues, we'd have to phone a friend and wait till that person was available to come in to help us. So
yeah,
these problems persisted. They became stagnant at times. And when you have that option to pick up the phone, send a text message, come walk down the hall and knock on a door for help. It gives you immediate access to resources and immediate opportunities for improvement.
that's really great. Congratulations on that because that's that's a true sign of that trust bank that you have built up with people and that people really do feel comfortable coming to talk to you about some of those things. So so that's really amazing. Thank you for sharing that. Um, so I also want to talk to you. Now, there's a few things that you as an internal trainer do a little bit differently that some of our other internal trainers do. And so, and part of it is I know that you all, you know, give a nice strong message at the beginning of all of your courses that we are investing in you as a leader to do this. This is not just because you're in this role and you have to do this training. It is we're investing in you. And so what are some of the additional things that you do at Canal to just help stay your, you know, keep your leaders accountable to the material and how you kind of still weave the metaphor of the coursework through your team meetings and things like that? What are some extra things that you all do at Canal?
Well, the term that we use at Canal is called extending the shadow of uh, value from the efforts that we undertake. And the way that we've extended the shadow of personified leadership is really baked into a framework of the I went to certified training for the ROI, the Return on Investment Institute
Yeah.
for training efficacy. And through that program, it really challenges you to think about how to get the most out of your training and development efforts prior to, during, and after the event. And we always felt that by having those tools through Personify, we could come up with a really good game plan to extend that shadow. So through utilizing the self-assessment and manager assessment prior to the class,
Mm,
it helps get it helps set the tone for those individuals that we mean business here. This
hmm
isn't a required for everybody course. It's a privilege to be in one of these development opportunities. And when you get referred, that means that somebody thought highly enough of you
mm,
that you would get a lot out of it and bring a lot to the table. So
yeah.
we push our trainees beforehand to make sure that they're ready. They understand the challenges that are going to be coming their way, and they understand that this isn't going to be a free ride.
Yeah.
So we have that pre-assessment that they do with their managers. We require them to do that.
Yeah.
We have a plan. We have a full session prior to the event with the trainees that are coming and their direct supervisors to make sure that they understand the expectations of the event and the
Mm,
expectations following the event.
yeah.
When the event is over, well, let me don't let me skip a phase. During the event, we have senior leadership come in. We have our executives come in and
Okay.
witness the training, and we give them time to speak on whichever topic they're in there for, whether it's hands of a leader, voice of a leader, spine of a leader, and we ask them to share a story themselves around that topic of where they struggled in the past and how they got better, and just tying in those cultural imperatives. So showing everybody in the course that it top down buy-in,
Yeah.
that even our CEO will stop by sometimes and talk to the group to let them know that this program is extremely valuable and that our expectations for them are high.
Yeah.
Following the event, we actually do a 30, 60, and 90-day follow-up with those trainees to make sure that the commitments they made in their action plans are happening. and that the
Yeah.
hard conversations that they've committed to and the commitment cards they committed to handing out are happening. Because the only way that you get full value out of this training is to apply.
Right.
You get out what you put in, and on that 90-day check-in, it's actually, we call it the capstone event.
Mm.
The trainee, their manager, and their department's executive attend that session, and we go over what they were able to fully accomplish through the program, what the next 120 days looked like, and we wanted management to see these individuals' amazing growth. So those are some of the specific things we're doing. We actually have our disc circle
Mhm.
um,
Yeah, the big
put up
graph.
put up in different places throughout the company,
Nice.
so that everybody can see where their peers and their fellow managers land on the disc chart, to be
Nice.
able to make it more visible. And,
Yeah.
the best part about the disc tool is it's not just learning about yourself, it's knowing where other people are, so that you can better communicate and better align your strengths and be aware of your gaps and your differences, so that we can work more cohesively. The last thing that we do, and this is new, this is a good one, you're going to
Okay.
love this, all
Ooh, all
right?
right.
So we've started using AI to help us analyze our disc assessments more quickly and more thoroughly.
Uh-huh.
And what I've been doing, I've been using Chat GPT to upload disc reports of a manager and their direct reports. And I've asked Chat GPT to analyze those documents and then provide, where do their strengths align?
Mm.
Where are some possible friction areas? What are some recommended steps for that person, that manager, and their direct report or team to take to address some of those potential friction points? And then what are some recommended action items for them to take immediately? And it is amazing what that tool can do to help get more value out of the disc reports. I had a captain ask me to do a disc report on the new mate that he got assigned to.
Uh-huh.
And I actually put the captain's disc report and the new mate's disc report through that AI tool. And when I shared him that report, he said, "This is the best thing that I've ever seen." And we've already reviewed it together, and we've committed to a number of these recommended action items, and it's going to help us get better.
Wow. That's amazing. I love that. So is that is that an idea that you came up with on your own?
Yes, I
That's awesome.
had this epiphany moment. My Some of my fellow managers, I've started using Chat GPT for other reasons,
Mm-hmm.
and they were kind of helping me build my account. And I was like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
maybe I should upload my disc into it. And I uploaded it, and it said, "Hey, based on your disc results, here's some cool things about you."
Oh my
And it
gosh.
shot it out, and I go, "Oh my gosh, I'm putting in my direct report. Hey, this is my direct report. How do we line up?" And it went right off the bat.
Oh
And I
my
go,
gosh.
"Oh no, I just stumbled onto a new best practice, I
Yeah,
think."
no doubt. That's amazing. Yeah, so after you train your AI to get to know you a little bit better, next time you're in there, ask it a question. Hey, what do you think, what might be something I don't know about myself?
Ooh.
And ask him that, and then it will, it pumps out kind of a fun answer. And sometimes you're like, oh, well, I kind of already knew that, but thanks for that perspective, or something like that. It just is kind of funny to, once you train it in your own voice and whatnot, then, or at least teach it a little bit about you, then start asking it questions about you to see if it's spot on or if it's a little off or whatever. That's kind of another fun thing you can do with it. So,
Well, one of the many reasons why I love working with you, Michelle, is because you and I share a whole boatload of curiosity with one another. We're very curious, and it's like, "Ooh, why don't you try that? Why don't you test on that and see if that's going to do it?" And I think that's an important lesson to take away for other young leaders, is that, it's the idea of that curiosity mindset,
yeah.
always wanting to kind of push the limits and challenge status quo, and let your guard down and let others kind of change your mind from time to time. And I believe that message really aligns with the Personified program.
Yeah. Well, so something that we've been toying with a little bit with AI and Personify is so Mobile Manny is one of the tools that you get at the end of a program where we have this character that we follow. As you know, we have this character that we follow through the program named Manny, and he's an everyday leader that experiences some challenges. He's very relatable, so that people that are going through the course, like they can kind of see some similar challenges that they might be experiencing that Manny does. So at the end of the course, we one of the tools that we have embedded into the course for learners is to help prolong that learning beyond the 2-day classroom experience. Is that we have this mobile coaching tool that we use that we've named Mobile Manny. And so so of course when participants onboard at the very end, they type in what are one of the 8 competencies that you most want to work on over the course of the next 30 days. So they type one of it in, and Manny then responds back, I mean, that's great. I need to work on that one too, or something like that. And then he asks for a 30-day goal and a 60-day goal and whatnot. So that way then they get little reminders sent to them throughout, the next 90 days post program. So it's probably been a while, Sydney, since you have interacted much with Mobile Manny, unless you're still on those competency emails that are text messages that he sends out. But we've started implementing AI into Mobile Manny. So we've trained our AI into our intellectual property, into our content and whatnot. And so, and before we had AI as an option, they were very like, Manny will ask this, and here's the 3 answers, A, B, or C, that you could give. And the participant would type back back a letter, whatever. And then Manny had a couple of, they were very canned responses because that was our only option. And of course, I created all the responses, so I am Mobile Manny. But, but, but now what we've done is, because we want people to actually use this as a true coaching tool, is that now when participants text back an answer, they actually, there's an AI that's been trained in our model that if they ask a question that is outside of the canned responses, then now the AI will actually provide a pretty good answer back. Now, I've tested it quite a bit because
Good.
there's like the other day, Mobile Manny asked me something like, "Hey, what do you think about this?" Or "Do you think you would do this in the listening or something like that? Do you think you'd be a good listener in this situation?" And I said, "Maybe." And that was it. That was my only response. And so then Mobile Manny's response back was, "Well, I can see how you might need to think about that a little bit," right? So so it's actually pretty good. It's been fun to play with a little bit. So if you haven't onboarded or been interacting much with Mobile Manny lately, we should get you re-upped on your Mobile Manny subscription, and and that way you can play with it a little bit, see what your leaders are experiencing as well.
Yeah, I definitely want to get back into the Mobile Manny. I know I've been the I've been the child that's been away from
Well, yeah, I
Mobile
mean,
Manny Daddy for too long.
yeah, it's been 3 years
So
since you went through it. So yeah, so yeah, and if you stop responding with Manny, then it does fall off. But if you keep responding to Manny, your subscription is good as long as you still are interacting with him. So anyway, but
well,
that just is kind of
well,
another new cool feature with Mobile Manny that is that leaders are really loving. So
I'll give you 2 things on Mobile Manny real quick.
okay,
We talked about having that in-house facilitator, the value of it, of making your employees feel like they're not leaving the workshop and going back to their little silo at work.
sure,
Mobile, not everybody can have that internal facilitator. I understand that, but Mobile Manny is like that nice little soft bridge so
yeah,
that that person has somebody to connect with if they don't feel comfortable connecting with somebody else in the from their company that went with them, or if they're the only one that went. So having Mobile Manny as an option is a nice alternative to that internal facilitator. And the other point I'd make about Manny is one of our executives that just went through the course actually gave Mobile Manny high praise.
oh
He
nice.
said, I at the 90-day check-in, he said one of my favorite things, and I had to get used to it at first. It was strange getting text messages from some random Manny number, but it served a really good purpose for me because I get so busy in my executive role
Yeah.
and having that nice little friendly reminder, it kind of kept my mind focused on Personify when I needed it. So, you
That's
got
really
high
great.
praise from one of our young executives at our company saying, and he doesn't give them away free. So
That's awesome.
kudos
That's
to
really
that.
that's great feedback. I appreciate that. I know I've had like I keep playing with Mobile Manny all the time because I want to make sure that it's still working, and things like that. And um, every month you can pick a different body focus competency to focus on. And I swear, whenever I'm in the mind of a leader, which focuses on emotional resiliency and stress triggers and things like that, I swear, whenever I happen to be in the mind module with Manny. Um, it happens to be a really stressful month. And I swear, Manny will send you a text message at the exact right time and be
Yeah.
like, hey, where are you at on the stress curve today? I'm like, oh, nicely played, Manny.
Yeah.
Nicely played. So,
I would love to hear, if you're using AI in within Manny. I would love to see some statistics from
mm.
him on what are the most common responses to each of the body types, so that we can kind of take the next step in learning through the Personify
Yeah,
data that
that's
you're collecting.
some other features that we have coming up in this next calendar year too, is we're going to be, you mentioned the pre and the post assessments a little bit earlier. That's something that we're also going to start putting data towards and really understanding what are the parts that people, and the competencies that people most are selecting. I mean, I know that at the end of the training, everyone gets to select a body part that metaphorically matches up. I've got them all here on my bookshelf and whatnot that
Mhm.
metaphorically matches the competency. And I'm sure that you see there are a few of the parts that they go a little bit more frequently than some of the others. And so what that tells me, just from a visual point of view, that there are some competencies that might be a little bit more difficult for leaders. And so we need to be building out more content to actually help support the ongoing learning in some of those. But we're gonna start putting all that data into like a survey monkey, so that we're collecting it, and so we can start to see that. We're also hoping that with the pre-work that the leader that's going through the program and their manager does, that we're also, once we start collecting that data, we also want to see where are the perception gaps that leaders might have. I might think I'm an amazing listener, but my superior will be like, oh my gosh, they never pay attention in meetings or like, so maybe there's a perception gap to where what I think I'm doing really well versus my supervisor might think I'm not doing well. So we're hopeful that then we can get the assessments to then show those perception gaps. So that way then again provide great conversation, material for them to have before they go through the training, and then the post assessments then will show, did I learn something in that? And then of course in the 30, the 60, and the 90-day follow-up after that, we want to have those surveys also put into place so we can start to see, are leaders really implementing what they're learning and applying what they learn to where they can see some visible uh, results from the work that they're putting in as well.
One tool that I've used in the past that I felt was one of the most beneficial to me as a young supervisor at the time. I had a 360
Oh yeah.
feedback
Hmm.
done on me by my direct report, my fellow HR department team members, and then a few cross department individuals that I had been doing a lot of work with.
Hmm.
If there is a way for Personify Leadership to come up with that style of tool to keep it anonymous so that people can
Sure.
give fair feedback about their manager before they come to the program,
Hmm.
I think that would be excellent information to provide. And if you're able to pull this really good data together, what a great way to benchmark yourself.
Yeah.
So that's a big thing within our senior management group right now is how do we line up against our competition? How do we line up against some of our providers or vendors? And how do we line up internally? So if there's a way for the Personify program to provide that type of benchmark information, it's
Hmm.
something that we can work off of, and our employees can see where they're at and give them something to strive towards.
Yeah, that is such an excellent segue, Sydney, into
Yeah.
um, what is coming up next. So I'm going to let you share a little bit about what you're excited about in the next year, but then also I'm going to put a little pin right here about some of the new programs that we have coming out in the next year and then the following year as well. So what is kind of next for you, for Canal, for Personify? What are some exciting things that you have coming up? um, that in the next year or so at Canal with Personify.
Well, I think I think what you're going to be most interested in hearing is that about 30 minutes before we got on our phone call today, I sent an email to our senior management group showing um, the new standards and expectations for our professional development programs. The two of main focus are Personify Leadership and a system or a program that we call the Core Program that gets employees out of their office, out from behind their desk and into the field, on board our equipment to meet our mariners, to meet our shore tankermen that do amazing work for our company. But Personify, we're starting to solidify it as a core pillar to our succession planning model. And to do so, we had to crank up the intentionality behind it. We created eligibility standards, a
Mm,
vetting process, and then we set program expectations in writing so that managers understood exactly what they were signing up their direct reports for and
mm,
sometimes themselves,
yeah,
so to make sure that they knew that the type of time commitment they were going to be making to this and the intentionality behind the program after the fact.
that's
Uh,
awesome.
some other things that I'm really looking forward to. We are expanding. We are further expanding Personify Leadership into our Mariner ranks.
Mm,
In 2025, we are currently planning to have two leadership sessions for our CBC fleet,
okay.
which is for our captains and mates.
Mm,
And then we're also going to be doing the same with our fleet located up in the Joliet, Illinois, Chicago area with IMT, and we're going to be doing the same thing with a group of their wheelmen and a group of their mates.
oh, cool.
So I'm very excited about where Personify is heading. It's received significant high praise from senior leadership,
Mm,
particularly the intentionality that we placed on forming the structure behind the event to make sure that the tools are actually getting applied in the workforce and we're able to share those good news stories.
yeah,
But
that's
I'm
awesome.
also looking forward to eventually getting into deep dive and getting more of our employees into deep dive because I have 3 years of managers saying, "What's next?
What's next?
When is the next phase of Personify coming?"
Yeah,
And for Troy and I to be able to go through that last test session with you and the team was amazing. I cannot wait to get more people into that program. So I'm looking at multiple years of Personify leadership ahead
yeah.
of us with a whole bunch of intentionality and high expectations.
Yeah, so our deep dive program, we've got our first one scheduled for that you can become certified in. It's April 1st to the 4th, here in the Denver area. But that's our first one. And so now we have that next follow-up program that you can, start implementing after people go through our core program, then you can then further learning with the deep dive program. And then so now that that one's getting rolled out, my task for 2025 is to start working on our coaching program. And our coaching program, it'll be called Personify Coach, and it will include a 360-degree feedback tool and then
Yeah.
some coaching that goes with it. I know, right? So, and of course, it's going to map against all the same similar competencies. We'll have, some for the core program and then some for the deep dive competencies or skills that we teach in deep dive as well. So that's my next task to start working on that. And then we also have our Courageous Leader program, which is a full 1 day, 8 hour training built out just out of the spine module. Because we often find that those courageous conversations are where people need a lot more skill development in around how to have those hard conversations when you know you need to have them. So we have that program built out as well, which is another program that you can then deliver out to people after they go through the core program. So lots of good stuff in the works, and And providing that good roadmap for people to where it's not just a one and done, that there's actually multiple touch points over the evolution of a leader's journey through several years worth of material there.
You saw me rustle in my chair a little bit. I'm all excited about this courageous leader program you're talking about.
Hmm.
One of the most, and I'm sure this is across the board, but one of the most referenced topics or tools is that spine of a leader holding a hard conversation,
Hmm.
and it continuously gets brought up after the fact, and it gets continuously brought up as an area that people are struggling. When we do those 30, 60, 90-day sessions, I'm going, have you had your hard conversation? Have you had your hard conversation? Have you had your hard conversation yet?
Yeah.
And it's either not yet, not yet. I'm about to, I'm thinking about it.
Yeah.
So, I think that I'm very interested in finding out more about that program, and I would love to be able to utilize it because it's that repetitive commitment that people put off and are resistant to doing or feel too challenged to do it. And if we could get a little bit more there, definitely would recommend it.
Awesome. Well, as we close out here, any final words that you would share with people about like why should they invest in Personify, or what would be the benefit of bringing Personify into their organization?
I would highly recommend companies look into Personify and bring it into their organization because Michelle and her team have done such an amazing job of ensuring that the training is meaningful, realistic, relevant, but most importantly, that it's enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest challenge that I've seen providers have is keeping adults entertained throughout their training sessions. Because if it's just a womp 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 womp, you're not going to get anything out of it except checking a box saying that you got training done.
Mm-hmm.
I was also very fortunate early in my training days to go through the ATD NOLA sector.
Mm-hmm.
I was introduced to ROI methodology, but then I also went through a session with Bob Pike,
Oh
who's
yeah.
an amazing trainer as well. And he spent the whole session talking about adult learning techniques, and that if people aren't laughing during your training events, they're not learning.
Right.
And you have taken that concept and hit a freaking home run with it. So
That's awesome.
why do I think people should take your training? Because it's enjoyable. It's easily applicable back in the workforce, and the services that you provide post class, staying in touch with companies that have utilized it, staying in touch with internal facilitators like myself. I never feel like I'm alone in my personified journey within my company because I have you to be able to call and reach out to at any moment.
That's
So it's
awesome.
like check, 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 check everything that you want from a program. If you're intentional about getting better and truly pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, then Personifies for you.
That's awesome. Sydney, thank you so much. It's been such a great conversation, and also just such a great evolution and journey of working with you and Canal Barge. And we just truly value our partnership. And just thank you so much for taking the time to share your story with others.
Happy to do this anytime. I really appreciate the opportunity. I'm humbled by you wanting me to spend this time with you. Yeah, I can remember just the other day that I was just some young kid trying to figure it out. Now I'm an older adult still trying to figure it out, but at least I got you now.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you so much, Sydney.
Thanks, Michelle.